A major winter storm is coming to the United States over the next couple of days, and this is going to bring a ton of snow, perhaps even more snow than what we've been forecasting over the last few days. In addition to that, a big ice storm is going to be coming from the Central Plains back into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and there will also be a threat for severe weather tomorrow, including damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes from this winter storm. In addition to that, we are growing confident that there will be another winter storm later this week, and that will begin as far south as Texas and eventually move into the Ohio Valley, the Southeast, and perhaps going through areas like the Northeast. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 days. And we'll begin with what's happening across the country right now. And we have a big winter storm right now forming across the central and southern plains. Right here is our low pressure center. It is currently sitting over the Rocky Mountains. We are already starting to see freezing rain and snow across parts of the central plains. Many areas already slick. We've already seen tons of car accidents throughout the day today due to the threat here of ice accumulation, and this is only going to get worse as we go into tonight and into tomorrow morning, because right now this low pressure system is sitting over the Rocky Mountains, but once it's in here to the central plains, we are going to see a big increase of intensity when it comes to how heavy both the freezing rain and the snow are. So make sure if you have any sort of travel plans that either you're canceling them or you're getting them done ASAP, and hopefully you're not in an area that is seeing any sort of ice accumulation, because this is only going to get worse as we go into tonight and as well as into tomorrow across parts of the Central Plains and as well as back through the Ohio Valley and as well as the lower Midwest. Now, the National Weather Service has been very busy over the last 24 hours, because if you look at the map, it is very colorful. We have tons of watches and warnings that are now issued anywhere from the central and northern plains, even back into the mid-Atlantic region now. Blizzard warnings have now been issued across parts of Kansas, including the Kansas City metro, and also into northern Missouri. We have winter storm warnings that go all the way towards Washington, D.C. This is, again, going to be one of the biggest storms that we've seen in really years when it comes to a winter storm. And also winter weather advisories in effect across the central and northern plains, even diving into areas like Tennessee, northern Arkansas, and also back into North Carolina, and winter storm watches that will definitely be issued to winter storm warnings here very soon across parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, and as well as back through Delaware and as well as Virginia. Now, this winter storm has already begun, and it is only going to get worse as we go into tonight. Right now, there's already freezing rain, snow falling across Kansas, Missouri, and as well as Nebraska. And as we continue to see moisture coming out of the Gulf, the low pressure system moving through areas like the Central Plains, and cold air continuing to spill in, we are going to see a lot of energy build up, and this is just going to create a huge winter storm as we go into the overnight hours tonight. Notice how much sleet and freezing rain will be falling here across areas like Kansas and as well as Missouri. This is going to lead to significant ice accumulation. We could easily see some power outages across areas like Kansas and Missouri as we go into tonight. Make sure you have flashlights ready to go, and if you have a generator, make sure that's ready to go as well. Heavy snow will be falling on the northern side of this low pressure system, mostly in northern Missouri and western Illinois as we go into the overnight hours. It is really going to ramp up, though, after about sunrise tomorrow. Heavy snow falling from Kentucky back into Kansas. There will definitely be a chance back over in parts of central Kansas here that we could actually see the potential for well over a foot of snowfall. And the snowfall accumulation has actually been increasing over the last 24 hours, and we'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. Notice again, freezing rain falling near St. Louis, back into southern Illinois, eastern Kansas as well, maybe even a sliver there of northern Oklahoma. And then eventually, as we get closer to lunchtime, this snow just continues to dump. We are talking about consistent moderate to heavy snowfall all the way towards Kentucky and North Carolina, continuing in areas like Kansas. And by the way, Kansas won't be done with the snow probably until at least around 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow night. So this is going to be a long-lasting event. Eventually, by about 9 to 10 o'clock tomorrow night, the snow will continue to move to the east. Heavy snow in much of central and southern Ohio and Indiana, also throughout Missouri and as well as Illinois. We'll be talking about freezing rain, sleet, and snow. Severe weather will be a threat during the afternoon and evening across areas in the lower Mississippi Valley and the Dixie Alley, and we're going to talk more about that threat for severe weather in just a few minutes. And then eventually, as we go into early Monday morning, heavy snowfall is expected in and around the Washington, D.C. area. We actually could see upwards of a foot of snow just outside of Washington, D.C., and this is going to be a pretty significant snowstorm, it looks like, even back over around Maryland, Pennsylvania, and as well as New Jersey. Perhaps the biggest snowstorm that we've seen in these areas in years. And then eventually, as we go into early Monday afternoon, we're going to start to see the snow move into areas like southern New England. Snow will continue in New Jersey. A little bit of snow is expected on the backside of this low pressure system, so we'll see a little bit of additional snowfall accumulation in areas like Virginia and Maryland as we go into Monday afternoon and evening before this eventually moves offshore as we go into Monday Monday night. You'll notice again, snow will continue probably until very late Monday night into early Tuesday morning before eventually things start to clear out across areas in the northeast. So here's the probability of seeing greater than 6 inches of snowfall over the next few days. And notice really the main area is a very thin but narrow corridor that stretches from Kansas through Missouri, Illinois, and also back into areas like Virginia. And notice this is about 100% chance of you seeing greater than 6 inches of snowfall. It's a very high probability if you're in that red. Even outside of that, though, we are definitely going to be watching for the potential for over 6 inches of snowfall. Areas like Washington, D.C., it looks like we're going to see around 5 to 6 inches of snow at least in those areas. Probabilities of seeing greater than 12 inches of snowfall, honestly, I think these probabilities are a little bit low, especially back over here in parts of southern central Illinois and also southern Indiana. However, this is again just one ensemble member run that's essentially showing you the probabilities here. Greatest probability of over a foot of snow is going to exist there in northern Kansas, with many areas over a 50% chance of seeing greater than 6 inches of snowfall. Now, the biggest question of the day, how much snow are we talking about out of this winter storm? Well, the numbers have actually been climbing over the last 24 hours. This is just one of many different computer models, but honestly, I would say that this one, in my opinion, is really the closest to what I'd be forecasting in terms of snowfall accumulation if I were to make my own map here. I think overall, we're talking about a large area, at least around 8 to 12 inches of snow. So anywhere in the pink, I would say there's a very good chance that we'll at least see 8 inches of snow, but I also think there's a pretty high chance that many of these areas will be over a foot of snow. I think our greatest areas in terms of total snowfall accumulation will be here in northern Kansas and as well as northern Missouri. I know the HRRR model is indicating like here in like very far southern Indiana that we could have a pocket near over 2 feet of snow. I'm not saying that's impossible. I just think the chances are a bit lower over here for a jackpot total like that. But I think overall we're at least talking about 8 to 12 inches of snow in this entire area. If you're back over near St. Louis, I think there's a good chance at least we'll see 6 to 10 inches of snow. And if you're back over near Joplin, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of snowfall there. Keep in mind, by the way, that all the snowfall accumulation here in Kansas, in addition to all of the wind that we're going to be seeing, is going to lead to blizzard conditions throughout the day Sunday. Near zero visibility is expected on the roadway. So if you have any intention of traveling, I do not by any means recommend that you travel tomorrow, because it is going to be very dangerous out there with low visibility, and also the threat for ice accumulation just makes matters even worse. Back over in the mid-Atlantic and the Ohio Valley, snowfall accumulation throughout this area is also going to be relatively significant. The track of this particular winter storm continues to change. It's been going north and south. It looks like it's going to take a bit more of a southerly path, which means that areas over here and areas like the mid-Atlantic are going to see some pretty significant snow out of this. First, to touch on Ohio, I think most of Ohio will see snow out of this. The greatest amount of it will just be south of Columbus. Columbus has ticked just a little bit up here over the last 24 hours. We're expecting between about 5 to 8 inches of snowfall back over near Cincinnati. I think we're going to see 8 to 12 inches of snow, maybe a few areas over that though. Again, I keep saying 8 to 12 inches, but you could easily be over that with this winter storm as long as you see persistent snowfall for several hours. And then back over in areas like Maryland, Delaware, and as well as back through New Jersey, we are definitely going to have some significant accumulation over here. I think New Jersey is going to range anywhere from just a coating all the way up perhaps as much as 8 to 9 inches of snow in southern New Jersey. Washington, D.C., I think again 6 to 10 inches of snow is a realistic forecast for right now. We could see some changes to the forecast. We're going to have another video tomorrow morning, so make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll post updates if there's any big changes to the forecast then. In terms of total ice accumulation, this is again going to be a big time winter storm, including the threat for ice. We are talking about at least a 1/10 of an inch of ice across most of Kansas and as well as much of Missouri. There will be areas, especially in southern Illinois and southeastern Missouri, that see upwards of a 1/2 inch of ice or even greater, which means that power outages are going to potentially be widespread, and we'll also be talking about the threat for extreme travel impacts at least over a 24-hour period. Back over in the Ohio Valley and as well as in the mid-Atlantic region, areas like Kentucky are going to be dealing with, again, a lot of ice accumulation. Basically, the entire state of Kentucky has a chance of seeing ice accumulation as we go into tomorrow and as well as Monday. So this is, again, going to be a big event. Southern Indiana, southern Ohio, on top of the snow that we're going to be seeing, there will also be ice. It's just going to be a really dangerous situation for any traveling. I would also anticipate that a lot of schools will be canceled for Monday, perhaps even into Tuesday. So if you have any kiddos that are going back to school, just keep that in mind. There's a pretty good chance there will be some closures. Make sure you stay tuned to your local news or your local school district to see what exact schools are going to be canceled as we go into Monday into Tuesday. Now, in terms of the risk of severe weather, we've seen now an upgrade from the Storm Prediction Center. We now have a level 3 out of 5, an enhanced risk for severe weather in the lower Mississippi River. This is going to be in northeast Louisiana, southeast Arkansas, and western Mississippi. In addition to that, we have a threat of severe weather as far north as areas like southwestern Tennessee and northeastern Arkansas. Keep in mind, if you go about 10 10 to 20 miles further north, you're going to be running into ice storm warnings. This is a kind of a crazy situation here. We're dealing with both severe weather and the threat for a big time winter storm threat. Now, in terms of the tornado risk, this is one of the reasons why we now have an increased risk of severe weather. Damaging winds is also going to be driven by this severe risk, but we also have a 10% tornado risk in place. That means there's a 10% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile radius in the yellow shaded area. But keep in mind, we are expecting at least a few tornadoes outside of that area, so make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts and have a tornado action plan ready to go for tomorrow. We will likely be live covering this tomorrow on the channel, so make sure you're subscribed down below and click the bell icon so you're notified when we do go live. Now, the tornado threat for tomorrow continues to climb. We are expecting the potential for at least a few tornadoes, maybe even several. Tornado parameter values are increasing, which basically means that overall our tornado threat is increasing. Greatest tornado threat, I think, for tomorrow will be exactly where the SPC put it, back over here in northeast Louisiana, western Mississippi, and as well as southeastern Arkansas. This tornado threat is going to peak really between 1 p.m. to about 5 p.m., and then eventually about 6 to 7 o'clock, the tornado threat is near zero. So this is going to be a relatively short-lived, I think, significant tornado threat, but we will still have the chance for tornadoes anywhere from about 11 a.m. until about 9 p.m. It's a long time frame, but the greatest threat will again be from 1 to 5, in my opinion. In terms of the timing for tomorrow, storms will start to fire off around 12 to 1 o'clock. The prefrontal convection here is where our greatest tornado threat will reside. The line of thunderstorms behind it will be mostly a wind threat moving across Arkansas and as well as Louisiana. Eventually, as we go into the early to mid-afternoon hours, the discrete supercells out in front of the line will be the ones again producing the potential for maybe an isolated strong tornado, but overall the line of storms will catch up pretty quickly. Once the line of storms catches up, we're watching mainly for a damaging wind risk along with some QLCS tornadoes, meaning tornadoes could be embedded in the line of thunderstorms, and then eventually this is weakening as we go into tomorrow evening across parts of Alabama and as well as back through parts of Tennessee. Now, beyond this winter storm, we are talking about the potential for another winter storm developing in Texas around Thursday and Friday. This would eventually move through the Ohio Valley and then perhaps become a big-time northeast storm. As of right now, there is a pretty high confidence that we are at least going to see snow in the southern plains. From there, what happens is uncertain, so we don't know yet if the northeast will see a big-time winter storm, but there's definitely a possibility for that. On Monday, we're going to go way more in detail about that winter storm, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. This is currently the probabilities of seeing greater than 1 inch of snowfall as we go into this upcoming week and as well as into the early weekend. Again, notice the probabilities are quickly rising across parts of Texas, so this will definitely be something to watch for. Make sure you're staying tuned to the channel. We'll keep you posted with the latest on this winter storm and the other one that's happening right now.